All right. Good morning. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Um, Welcome on behalf of the board and Chairman Paul Montgomery for here today, so got settled with me. General information, attendance, roll call. Bill, please.
Okay. Vice Chairman Jimmy Adkins,
Present.
Blake Ayler, Chase Milner,
Present.
Troy Ebert,
Here.
Michael Thompson.
Here.
Okay, so we are missing Sullivan County and then the Churchill, Mount Carmel, Hawkins County rep. Maybe they'll show it in a few minutes.
And then we do have a quorum with Michael. Fantastic. Agenda item number 2, public comment on agenda items only. Those wishing to make a comment pertaining to any of the agenda items may do so at this time with a 5-minute time limitation. Comments not pertaining to a specific agenda item will be heard at the end of the meeting. I'd like to open the floor to anybody in the public for any comments. Hearing none, go ahead and close the public comment period. Item number 3, approval of the minutes from the February 9th, 2023 meeting. Hope everyone's had a minute to break some time to review the minutes. It takes longer than a minute. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? I have a motion by Troy, duly seconded by Michael. Questions on the approval of the minutes from the recording from the February 9th, 2023 MPO meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving right along. Item number 4, PM2 and PM3 targets. Please pay attention. There's a vote required. Leslie.
So PM2 targets are the pavement and bridge condition performance management targets, and then the PM3 is the system performance targets. You'll remember these are set every 4 years by the state. They do have an option to adjust at midpoint, so in 2 years. So we adopted the original targets 4 years ago. There were a couple of adjustments 2 years ago for both Virginia and Tennessee, and then these are the new 4-year targets that they're setting. And we just recommend, as in the past, to just support and adopt the state's targets that they set. And it's pavement condition, bridge condition, and then the system performance, like I was saying, interstate reliability. We go ahead and adopt the Virginia targets, even though we don't have any interstates in our Virginia area. We just go ahead and support them. And some of the emissions targets do not apply to the Kingsport area because we're in attainment, but these were included in the packet. We do have, let me stop sharing this and show, we have had, I share screen now. We signed up last fall with Urban SDK, trying to give it a trial for a year, just to see. And they've been working with us, and they created these dashboards that shows the bridge conditions. This chart over here is not showing as clearly as it does on my bigger monitor upstairs, because usually it has the actual bars separated, but you'll see the good bridge condition. These are from 2018 to 2022. So 2018, there was 425 that were good. And in 2022, there's 428. This is for the MPO area. And over here, we could do, any of those 5 years, but I've got 2022 pulled up. Michael, did you want to talk about this?
Well, so the red are the poor, and this is all ownership, whether it's TDOT, VDOT owned or municipal owned. There's also some that are Army and there's you see up there on there the Tennessee Valley, TVA, and Forestry Service. So a few private bridges as well, but this gives you a big overview that you can start from and quickly look at. And if you want to dive in deeper, we could get actual bridge reports if you're in the state of Tennessee. And I'm not sure in Virginia. I know there was an article in the paper last week about bridges on both sides of the line, and there was a statement made that that Virginia doesn't release the actual bridge reports due to it being critical infrastructure. So I don't know what the process is. If somebody in the MPO or something would want to see more detail. I don't know if there's any more information you could tell on that, Blake.
Yeah, I can ask the bridge engineer if there's any way, if there were a question about them, if we can share and what we can share. I know through Piedmont and Bristol, working through that, needing to get some of those out, there was a process we had to go through to release them. So I'd say it'd be similar to that. I think there's some paperwork you fill out basically, and I think we can get it.
So you'll see the good bridge condition, 2018, there was 425, and 2022, there was 428, so that's good. And then poor went from 124 in 2018 to 120 in 2022, so that's what you want to see. But you'll see the ones, let's see.
So like that one's the State Route 1 bridges that TDOT's got in the queue. Those are through act projects to replace. And as we go through later on, we have a big question about the timing of that project because we need to do some work on Netherland End Road. And obviously those two projects don't need to be affecting traffic at the same time. So we're curious about that one. And then the one just to the east of that is the Fort Robinson Bridge that's in process as well right there.
So it gives you the year built and the year inspected, like year of report. Just gives you different information about it. The structure condition poor, obviously, with it showing red.
And so they've created this as well as there's other things, speed and reliability and demographic data where if you want to look at something real quick and see where you want to dive into, it's a pretty good tool for that. We're still trying to figure out the best applicability for it.
And we don't have, people full-time on staff that just dig into data all the time. So we kind of do it in between other things. So we just had them create these dashboards for us instead of us trying to spend the time to do it. But just wanted to show you that, just to show that, there's other data sources that we're using and looking into. And there's some that actually are provided. Streetlight is provided through VDOT, and Tennessee has the RIDIS and NRIX data. So I'll go back to the.
It actually made me a little bit excited when you said that you all have testing out Urban SDK. Thomas and I actually sit in on a couple of so actually probably 3 presentations virtually through them, and was really impressed with what they can do with the data sets and their dashboard and GIS capabilities. Really interesting.
Yeah. So back to the PM2 and PM3 targets. These are the Tennessee targets. Like I said, and they're included in your packet, and then the Virginia targets. And again, we just recommend supporting the state targets as we have in the past.
I'll make a motion to support the PM2 and PM3 targets as presented today.
What was that, Jay?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm getting background information here.
We was talking about that Urban SDK, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Do I have a motion to have a second?
I'll second.
All right, have a motion by Chase, second by Blake. Questions on the approval of the PM2, PM3 targets and approving the targets and the resolution as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 5. FY 24 Unified Planning Work Program, the Virginia portion. Leslie.
So let me turn this, I'll show the whole thing. You all know Tennessee and Virginia are on different fiscal years. So while we won't adopt the full, approved document until August, because TDOT's fiscal year starts October 1st, we do have to go ahead and approve the Virginia portion for funding because their fiscal year starts July 1. So this is just a breakdown of the total funding, and TDOT does a 2 year. So you'll see TDOT has fiscal year 24 and 25. Virginia is only showing fiscal year 24. The funding formulas for Virginia will be changing fiscal year 25 due to all the census stuff and the boundary changes that we're working on. We're actually meeting with Virginia next week about those boundaries. So we only included fiscal year 24, which we have to adopt this every year for Virginia anyway. So we only included fiscal year 24 because we're not really sure what's going to happen for 25. So we didn't want to just guess at it and put numbers in there. So that is showing the total. And again, you're just approving the Virginia portion. So we've got program administration, data collection, maintenance analysis, short range planning, long range planning, multimodal planning, and special studies. So some of these, like we only put MTPO funds in program administration, short range planning, and long range planning. And then we get 5303 funds through DRPT, which we program in administration, and then multimodal planning. And then for Lena Wisco, they have funds in all tasks, except we don't have funds in special studies because that's more of a TDOT thing.
I'll start. Great job on this document, Leslie. I mean, you really killed it.
I totally rewrote it. From scratch.
It's really well done, well presented, real clean. But there's a lot of work that goes into this. And even though we maybe meet 4, 5, 6 times a year, what we do on a daily basis is right here in that document. So it's what we do.
Yeah, each task
Lot of work.
has all the subtasks listed and then, specific funding for that task. And TDOT lets us program, which we'll talk about this more in August, but they let us program 2 years together. So if we don't spend in fiscal year 24 what we expect to, it's still available for 25. So that's nice. That they just started that with the last UPWP.
Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
I have a motion by Michaels, duly seconded by Chase. Questions on the approval of the FY 24 UPWP Unified Planning Work Program, Virginia portion, and the subsequent resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you. Y'all make this look so easy.
Mhm.
Item number 6, FY 2023 TIP Amendment, Virginia. Leslie, let's go back in time.
So, we adopted the fiscal year 23 through 26 TIP previously, well, actually in November. TDOT's STIP has not been approved yet. So we're still technically operating out of the 2023 TIP. And Virginia's on a different TIP schedule than we are. So this amendment is actually to the old TIP, the 23, and it's to add funds to fiscal year 23 for the Virginia groupings for maintenance, traffic and safety operations, maintenance, preventative maintenance for bridges, and maintenance, preventative maintenance and system preservation. So those were detailed in the pages. There's the current page and then the amended page with the additional funding. And it's like that for each group. And then as part of the process with a TIP amendment, we have to also certify that we are meeting all of the guidelines and regulations that we have to meet. We have to self-certify. And so it's signed off on by the MPO, by the chair. And then in this case, it'll be signed off on by VDOT's Bristol District Engineer, just saying that we are following all the planning processes that we're supposed to follow. So this one's to the 23 TIP, adding 23 funds to those Virginia groupings.
Any questions, comments, concerns? I'd love to entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Chase, you're up there, man. That's great. All right, I have a motion by Troy, duly seconded by Chase. Questions on the approval of the FY 2023 TIP Amendment, Virginia, and the self-certification as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you so very much. Number 7. One of the future FY 23-26 TIP Amendment, Virginia. Leslie.
Okay, so that was amendment 11 to the old TIP. So this is amendment number 1 to the new TIP. So as I mentioned, Virginia's on different TIP cycle. So their TIP is actually 24 through 27. So usually what we do is we adopt our TIP in November, come back and add the Virginia projects for the new tip after Virginia gets to that point in their process. So this is actually adding the new Virginia projects to our new tip, the 23 through 26 tip. And you'll see this just shows 24 forward for Virginia because we just added the 23 funds, by the previous amendment to the old tip. So all this was included in the packet that we get from Virginia that I sent out, in the agenda packet. So. And again, we have to certify with any tip amendment that we're following all the processes and regulations we have to follow.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Make a motion to accept this tip amendment as presented. FY 23, 26.
Thank you, Chase. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Troy. I have a motion by Chase, duly seconded by Troy. Questions on the approval of the 23-26 tip amendment, Virginia resolution and the self-certification. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you.
Let me get the next thing pulled up.
All right. Agenda item number 8, TDOT presentation. TDOT Region 1.
So what I'm talking about today is we're looking at the IIJA and we're looking at some of the funding that came through. And money that will be coming for 3 different types of projects that we're looking at now. And VDOT, you all have some of this, I think, at some point. This is very, very early information. Some of it is, other parts of it are already moving along. Go ahead, Leslie. NEVI is the first program. So this is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. Basically, this they have handed a handful of money to all of us across the nation. Tennessee got $88 million to spend over the next 5 years. What we're doing with this, or what has to be done with these particular funds, is this is setting up DC fast charging stations along the interstate. They have to be basically within 50 miles of each other, and they have to have at least 4 charging ports for each one of those, located within 1 mile of the exit. Go ahead. This map shows the squares. So these are kind of hard to see, but there's a square there to the right of, or to the east of Knoxville. It's red. That is an existing NEVI compliant charger. Yep. And then there is a square going south on, no, never mind. If you see all the dots coming through Kingsport, coming through Johnson City, going on both interstates, those are eligible exits that are around or within. So not every single one of those is going to have a dot or have a charger. It's going to be one of those basically on 81, and then probably 1 or 2 on 26, I think 74 miles or 75 miles, something like that. So we're going to have 1 to 2 on that one. And then 81, probably we've got the one in Knoxville, so probably closer to the Fall Branch side or in that area. It could be anywhere along that, trying to hit that 50-mile mark. And it depends on where the split is, because the split at 40 is we're looking at 74 miles, I think, on that one as well, something like that. So anyway, those are the eligible areas. Now, if you look at all the other MPOs, you don't see a lot of dots that are actually eligible because they already have squares. So that is one unique thing. The Tri-Cities, has some room, and we're going to get some money up in this area for these stations. These are the level 3 charging stations. Basically, they can come through and charge the vehicles within like 45 minutes versus the, all day or multiple days. Next slide, please. So this is just some of the statistics about it, showing the growth that we have with electric vehicles. The slide on the right in Sullivan County, you're looking at 620 or 625 statewide, excuse me, charging stations. And the top left is talking about the registrations, and that's by our statistical areas. The bottom one is specific for Superior County. It's showing 300 and almost see that number from here.
Troy, BEV, is that battery?
Yes.
EV? I've not heard that term before. That's just
That- that's
pure
a-
electric.
Right, versus the hybrid plug-in. That we're seeing with a lot of these newer ones, you get the first 30 miles or so electric, and then it kicks into your gas motor or fuel. So if you clicked on and you don't have to do this, but if you look at this in the AFDC link, their alternative fuel data center, if you click on that, that shows you can go through and search and look for where the actual charging centers are. So I did that, and I put the zip code in for Kingsport, and of course it showed the garage where we already had those in place. It showed Rush Street had one, right? And it shows some of the car dealerships, different areas that these are currently present or there. It did not show Eastman's because they have a slew of them, but I don't know if they consider those public or not, because they may not be public. So but they're there. The state park showed up because they have one, or they're about to have one go in, as all state parks do. So the data's out there. We're looking at it. The biggest thing that we're seeing on these is the registrations are going up. More electric vehicles are coming in. And of course, federal government's pushing that across the nation. So we're trying to get ready for these without running into the situation where we have 4, 5, 6 hour lines to wait to charge your vehicle. Next slide, please.
Hey, Troy, quick
Yes.
question if I may. The Tennessee funds is like the phased power electricity infrastructure upgrades. Is that an eligible expense?
As far as the details on it, I don't know specific on that.
I believe a lot of that states are doing it different ways. So that's why I was curious. about
They
that.
are. And I'm giving this presentation for our air quality people. So I have good notes, and I mean, this is really new to what we learned. The first time I heard this was last week with you all. So, but that's a good question. And if you want to email that to me, we're probably putting together an FAQ with a lot of these questions.
That's good. Thank you.
So any other questions about NEVI? Okay, so with NEVI, AECom went through and they had to do they did a plan for us, and this was, we had to push hard to get that ready so we could get those $88 million. Well, out of that came some other things, like the carbon reduction program. This is a different program. This one we're looking at approximately 139 million over the next 5 years through 2026. That means it's already started. We're looking at the programs office, and not local programs, but they're calling it the programs office, but it's the air quality office, former CMAQ office. They are working with AECom to develop a strategy plan to get this implemented. Next page. So this is where we start getting into a few money figures. And some of this has all the Tri-Cities on it, has all the MPOs on it. So you can see Bristol at 915,000. Kingsport is 1.46 million are the eligible funds allotted to the Kingsport MPO region to be able to do some of this implementation for the carbon reduction. It's based on your urbanized boundaries in the population. TDOT will be working with, and Andrea Noel in our air quality will be working with the MPO specific and trying to find out specific ways on how to spend this and how you all want to do this. And we actually sent a survey out. Go to the next page, you'll talk about it. We sent a survey out asking where we want to spend this money. So the cool part about it is we got a survey. The bad part about it is we didn't get a lot of responses. So off of the responses, this is where the strategy has come. And I've got to ask the board this, and we can, whatever the chairman wants to do here. The 120 people statewide actually took this, and statewide for 7 million people, 120 is not that great of a number. Say, where do you want to spend $140 million? So the survey just closed a couple of days ago. We do have statewide data only, but in a few weeks we'll have more detailed information. The air quality officer will be working to develop the projects based on these results. And the next page, we'll talk about a little more in the specifics. So the top three here hidden, you've got the green box, the light blue box, and it's kind of a maroon box there at the top. That was TSMO, which TSMO, for the audience, if you're not aware, TSMO is not just traffic cameras. It's not just, it's anything that we can use technology related for, and not even in or related to help keep the cars moving. So basically they're not sitting there idling. So our help trucks are part of the TSMO process, our cameras. So you can get online and you can look, okay, we have SmartWay cameras, like for VDOT's 511, same thing. You can see where the backups are to give you routes around it. Of course, we usually all use navigation like Waze or something along that just automatically takes you around it. We use Waze. I don't know if you all do. We monitor that constantly. And if we see a red area show up, we dispatch trucks out to it. And we do that in our region up here as well as Knoxville right now. We just don't do it. We don't have as many trucks up here, and we only do it for certain hours instead of all day in the Tri-Cities. So next page. So this is where you see the numbers at the bottom, 0 through 5, but 4 responses up here. Okay. So 4 people voted on this. Transit was right up there, up top, as far as what strategies we need to concentrate on: green construction, freight, taking care of the freight areas, which I can understand freight being important as well, because you don't want your truck sitting here idling. You don't want them stuck on the road. You want the interstate to remain open and commerce to ship. And fleets, facilities, of course, alternative fuels, TDM, TSMO. TSMO was actually rated lower on this one. And then for some reason, active transportation is at the bottom, but active transportation is what everyone likes to talk about. Whether we're using it for transportation or we're using it for recreation, but Kingsport's had a long running list of active transportation projects to make alternatives for this. So, but we have TSMO, and then the top ranked project types for street lighting. So we're not looking at more lighting, but more of the LED type lights, like what y'all just put out in front of the high school, which you all contract that through AUP, correct? Okay. So Andrea wants me to ask, do you all agree with these, especially since only 4 people took the survey? Or do you all want to look at swapping these around, or looking at these again and discussing possibly re-ranking any of these as far as what we want to concentrate on spending this money on?
Now, is this working on the state's strategy? I mean, not the money that they say has to be spent up here. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about?
Well, it's going to be your all's money spent up here, the money that money that's been assigned to you.
So the issue that I have is we have funds for fiscal year 22 out there.
Okay.
They have to be obligated in 3 years.
Right.
I mean, so obviously it needs to be a project that we can get this obligated on quickly. So we have a couple of projects in the works that we're thinking it would qualify, the Head Bridge being one, and then
Right.
West End Greenbelt. So I know that's active transportation.
Right.
But-
And that's why I was looking at that at the bottom, but it has, half the votes. We'll look at it that way. But that we need to look at those and discuss those. And if that's something, if you all want to kind of look at these and massage them a little bit, looking at what the needs are here because of that, or do we just want to go, where's Chris?
He's back there.
Transit's back here. Chris is probably good with what we got on the board. But looking at these type of options, we've got, we can discuss that a little more to try to make that work. So one thing Leslie was stating, the clock's already started. So if we can take the first year money and apply it to something we already have going, that you already have in your tip.
And the 1.4 was over 5 years.
Right.
So that's 22 through 26.
So we're not looking at a ton of money to do a single project. It would be added in as something along the lines.
On the neighborhood of 300,000.
So You have-
A new 300,000 would come in November, then the new budget, or when is those future years gonna be distributed,
that I don't know.
available, I guess is the word.
We need to add that to the FAQ question list. But your signals that you already have up and running, if you have something that you might need changed or updates, I think you just updated your software not that long ago.
Jimmy
But
just parked it back there.
yeah,
Yeah, on the street lighting side, we're trying to figure out the fund switching to LEDs.
sure. Well, and that's a kind of funding is here to be able to do that. So if you all would rather see something along those lines, the street lighting would be good on that one. No, Jimmy wants an electric car. Up there. So that was up there. He could be like the MTPO with their electric vehicle. And but the other ones are what we need to look at. So if whatever y'all think, if you want to discuss it, or we need to think about it a little bit more and work with Andrea on it, maybe report back saying, okay, this is really what we're looking at. To make those differences be worth exploring anyway.
Do you think that, I guess my suggestion would be, once you define that we got more information than we have, bring the technical committee together and just say, hey, let's chit chat about it, look at eligible projects and run with it.
Yeah, we could probably do
Not
something
something
like
formal.
that, and that's something like that we could put together even on like a Teams meeting with Andrea, something like that, so we can get together and just say, all right, here's what's going on, here's where these can actually apply. Define what green construction is exactly. What are we talking about here? Those type of things, and then see what we can get implemented and get obligated quickly, because speed is going to be the name of the game on this one.
I think defining some of these categories would give the board as well as the city the ability to decide what projects can they put it to quickly. Because we know that's the hard part. A lot of this money is speed's not a friend of the DOT in any way. So I think once you find out exactly what's in each one of these, then the city has a list of here's the projects that we could probably tack that onto or add to in a quick manner. I think that's no problem.
Because we may be seeing this with Virginia as well. It just depends on what their stuff's coming down.
And this requires a 20% match, is that right? This is
I believe
80-20.
so. Yeah. Next slide. So Protect program is the last of the three programs that we're going to talk about. This is basically the resilience, taking care of what we already have. Tennessee is prone, and I'm sure Southwest Virginia is prone to flooding and landslides, dealing in the mountains, dealing with these severe slopes. Those are programs that we can use. One thing that is an asterisk on here is electric charging stations along evacuation routes are eligible if we have evacuation routes that are actually listed. I know that Sevierville, Sevier County, that's one thing that they've looked at, were evacuation routes dealing with situations. And I think we're too far north really from and away from the coast to be messing with hurricane evacuations or anything like that. So, but that is in there. This one is 158 million over 5 years. Next slide. And there's one of our slides. This is the one that was going over in towards Sneedville from Hawkins County. It's one of Michael's favorites. And this was, I don't know if this was the big one or I think there was another one up just on the hill from there, but if you've ever been to Sneedville, you've been on one of these roads. I think that was 70. But resilience planning, I think it's 2% of this. Yeah, 2% of this can be set up specifically for just the planning on the resilience as well. And it's designated for that. The remaining part of it can go into the design or pre-design or technical capability, or if we're looking at trying to keep Bays Mountain Road open and we're dealing with slides up there or slides along water that you've already done soil nailing and stuff like that on, those could be potentially available for these type of funds. There's your timeline. So this one hadn't started yet, but it's coming in a hurry. There'll be an application and a webinar. Now, how this is a competitive grant, and how these are going to be done are similar to the planning grants. So OCT will be bringing these. We'll be working with them. We'll be scoring the applications. We'll be getting them to the to the consultants, and then we will be administering them, be the middle person, take care of the money, and then make sure everyone comes to the table and does it. Kind of facilitator on the entire thing. So we're starting October, looking at the grant closing in December and kicking these things off about a year from now. Is what we're looking at. So think about it. So we're trying to get you all to think about this one a little bit, to look at what do we have in our local communities or in this MPO specific that we could look at to address something like this. Do you have specific slide areas that we need to look at, or what do we need to do as far as resilience planning in some of those? So Kingsport's not as bad as you get into the rural areas, but you get to deal with all the time. So, but I know we have them.
Troy, do you know, and I think this grant will go toward it, but it will go toward flood prone areas as well, correct?
Should, yeah. All right, and that basically wraps up. If you want to go to the next slide now, if you have these specific questions, we had a question come out of Lakeway yesterday, the Morristown area MPO, and I think we're going to end up developing an FAQ list because we're having some great questions come up, and it's like the questions that you are asking. I'm saying, please email those to us, so we'll get you the answers. And then you can email me or copy me and send it to that lady on the TV. That's Andrea Noel. She was the Region 2 OCT supervisor. She has a big environmental background, so she's moving into this slot. Seems to be, she's taking off with it. She's loving it. But she is the CMAQ office or air quality office right now. Because of the number of vacancies we have. We just hired one. We still have several openings in that office. So that's why I'm here presenting on her behalf, because I think she's actually in Upper Cumberland talking to an RPO about it right now. Yesterday, I presented for her because she was in Cleveland giving presentations, and so we're definitely tag teaming these. So if you do have any questions, her phone number is on there, email address. If you need her like home address or something, want to visit her, I can make that happen for you, just so you can talk to her about it, because she's definitely the expert on it outside of me. But if you want to relay questions to me, be more than happy to help get those solved and get those worked out. And like we were talking about, setting a meeting up, something like that, to make sure we get these things in. So that'd be good. And that concludes my specific presentation. As far as TDOT updates, since I've got the mic, we have a lot of TDOT folks that are here. Michael Dix here, who's your all's regional District 17 engineer. So he basically runs everything, that almost every vehicle out here that says TDOT on the side of it, except for like a handful of them like mine. They go to him. So he's the operations guy. And he's also the construction guy. So if you have questions on any of those construction type projects, which we talked about, I think we have a few questions maybe coming on some of those in the region. That's Michael. You know, we have issues with down trees or you name it. It ends up with his down line, but that's your contact person on that. So if you don't know Michael, he's right over there. Where'd he go? Beside you. I can't see him. Make sure you talk to him. He's an extremely important contact for you all. Who else is here? Taylor Lee's here. I knew he was coming in. So Taylor is your all's local programs contact. So he's like a mini TDOT within TDOT on the projects that you all specifically handle yourself, which a lot of y'all know Taylor. Taylor's the supervisor for regions 1 and 3. He doesn't have any downline right now, so he's juggling all the above. I heard a stat, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but state of Georgia, their positions for a program monitor average 13 to 15 projects. How many do you have ish? 275. So he got his hands full. So that's why when y'all say, why I need to get a hold of them, it's like we're trying, and I have you all reach out with me as well. And sometimes, you know, we've reached out to people and they've been on maternity leave and stuff like that. We've been able to track down. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So you all working on hiring plan?
Yes.
Okay. They're trying. We're all trying to fill positions right now, but TDOT's going through their major revamp. So we don't know. Some of us kind of know, some of us don't have a clue on how it's going as far as how the org chart's going to fall. And that also makes it hard to hire people. So, but we are working through it. Is that all the TDOT folks? Oh, hi, Michelle. Sorry. So the boss is here. Y'all know Michelle very well. One thing you all are gonna see that we're not officially launching, but it's super cool, and y'all heard about it last week, is Michelle's gone through and developed a dashboard for funding. Okay, this is not TDOT funding, this is all things funding. It's not BDOT yet, but we'll show you what we're doing. Basically, it's gone through, it's got USDOT, it's got federal highway, it's got Tennessee Department of Health. There are things that are related or directly related to transportation that has money out there, because we all have these great plans in transit's another one. There are that should be, once we get approval, this will be launched and you all see this. We'll probably do a quick demo of it, make sure everyone has the links, but it's very easy to use. It is a very powerful tool and it's easy to update. Before, she had done a handout. Y'all may have remembered a couple of years ago. Front and back, had a lot of information on it. But it's when people move on, you have different, our email addresses are our names. So when that happens and somebody retires, someone leaves, well, that thing's out of date, and it stayed out of date after about the first 2 months. So this platform that we're going to see will end up, or it's easily to update and stay up with. So I've been really excited about that. So you all get to see that for too long. With that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. And if y'all want to go through the other project updates.
We'll get to the specific projects in a minute. I'll do everybody else. Daniel Wagner with DRPT is online. I see you've unmuted yourself, Daniel. Do you have an update for DRPT?
Hey everyone, sorry, I don't think I meant to unmute myself, but I'm happy to provide an update if you'd like. Yeah, we don't have a lot to update on, other than we've recently launched our Discover Transit campaign. So if we'd be happy to share those marketing materials with you all. It's just promoting transit across Virginia and encouraging folks to either return to transit from after the pandemic or perhaps trying it out for the first time. So happy to share that information with you all if you'd like. Otherwise, these are all good project updates that we're seeing, and I appreciate y'all having us.
Thank you. Zach Coleman with Federal Highway Tennessee is on as well. Zach, do you have an update?
Hey, Leslie. Yeah, I do. I have a few NOFOs. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I have a few notices of funding opportunity to share to kind of piggyback on what Troy was talking about. So we have the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Program. This is kind of separate from NEVI. I think it was mentioned in one of the slides. It's a competitive grant program created by Bill that makes up to $700 million available for pretty much the same thing as NEVI. It's community charging and fueling grants for the community program, or corridor grants as well. But this could be, if you want to put in a charging station in an urban or rural community in like downtown accessible public locations, we encourage you all to apply to this. Deadline is fast approaching though. It's May 30th. I know that this is a very popular program, so it'll probably be available in future fiscal years as well. So just keep it on the radar. The next is the Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A NOFO was released this year. There's $100 billion available for action plans and implementation grants as well. They did add also like a demonstration aspect. So it's kind of conducting planning, design, and development activities for projects and strategies that might be identified in an existing action plan without doing a full implementation. The deadline for applications this year for this fiscal year is July 10th. The next one we have is the Wildlife Crossing Pilot Program. So there's $112 million available in funding for this pilot program under Bill that makes funding available for states and communities to construct wildlife crossings over or below busy roads, add warning signs for drivers, or acquire like mapping and tracking tools to be able to kind of reduce wildlife vehicle collisions. That's the overall goal of this program. The application deadline for that is August 1st. I'll provide more information for all of these as well with links to the NOFOs. And finally, Troy had mentioned the Protect program. I know that TDOT is doing their own grant program through Protect, but we also, FHWA released a discretionary grant program, which makes $848 million available to fund projects that address the climate crisis. So a lot of what Troy talked about. So there's 4 funding categories. There's planning grants, resilience improvement grants, community resilience and evacuation route grants, and at-risk coastal infrastructure grants. Kind of the first 2 categories are probably what y'all going to be looking at. The applications are due August 18th for that. Just want to say, like, the focus is on resiliency for those grants, but FHWA also just released a white paper called Trails and Resilience, a review of the role of trails in climate resilience and emergency response in March. And it kind of explores the existing research, highlights project examples, and identifies research gaps for trails in connection to climate resilience, emergency response, and public health emergencies. And there's also an informational webinar actually today from 1 to 2 p.m. on kind of this Protect discretionary grant program. So I'd encourage you to, attend that and get more information. So I'll share all this with you, Leslie, if you want to push it out to the group as well. But that's all we got.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Blake, you got anything for VDOT?
Yeah, I'll say
Microphone.
just 2 things on thank you, Troy. On Monday, VDOT will be having their 6-year improvement plan at the Higher Ed Center in Abington, and that'll start at 5. I think, pretty sure it's 5. And then the second thing, we have a new study kicking off. So a few months ago, I spoke about Project Pipeline, which is a new study initiative at VDOT. We went through our first round of Project Pipeline, and we studied 5 locations throughout the district. One of those was here within the Kingsport MTPO boundary. That study culminated in, those 5 studies culminated in 7 applications in the SMART scale, 5 of which were selected inside of the 6-year improvement plan, which they'll be looking at Monday night. So if that holds, 5 will get funded out of the 7. So we're pretty excited about that. So we're kicking off round 2 of Project Pipeline. There's another location selected that is currently inside of the MTPO boundary, and that'll be on 58 from the intersection there at 224 at Wadlow Gap, going all the way back out to the Hiltons, and it'll stop there at the elementary school. So we're excited about that study. We had our kickoff for that one last week with the entire study group. So more to come from that, I think, over the next 6 months or so as we eye the next round of SMART scale.
Okay, and Tri-Cities Airport sent me an update. They are having their tri-annual live fire drill. So if somebody says something's going on at the airport, that's what it is, because it's right now. But they have new checkpoint equipment. So if you're going to be flying out of Tri-Cities Airport or know somebody that is, go early. TSA is installing new screening equipment at the checkpoint, which will increase the number of bags that can be screened per hour. They were supposed to have finished last week. I haven't heard an update, but the screening process will be slower as they learn to use the new equipment. So, usually at Tri-Cities, you could go in and get in pretty quick, but, plan ahead if you or anybody you know is flying. Taxiway A rehab project. Taxiway A is the main taxiway at the airport, and about 95% of all planes use this taxiway to get around the airport. The top layer of pavement is being milled and replaced to expand the lifespan of the taxiway. The work is causing taxi times to take about 5 to 10 minutes longer than usual. And work started April 14th. It's planned to finish July 14th. Runway 927 crack seal and taxiway B1 removal. Runway 927 is the crosswind runway and mainly used by general aviation traffic. Crack seal will increase the lifespan of the runway. Taxiway B1 is being removed as it no longer meets FAA standards, since it provides direct access from an apron to a runway. The work for both will be done in July and September and have a minimal impact on the airport's operations. Now, if you remember before, they said they were going to start working on a master plan. They have signed with a consultant for the master plan. They're getting their sub-consultants set up. They're supposed to have their kickoff meeting sometime within the next month. And then they don't have dates set yet for public outreach meetings, but they'll let us know when they do, so we can distribute that information. So I thought that was pretty good from the airport. Chris, do you have anything for transit?
We sent it in the paper a couple weeks ago, we recently reduced, fixed price from 6. We went to 5 back in December. And that's issue that we ran. It's also an equipment issue, equipment we have in purchase. Local buses, which makes it very easy for disabled individuals to get into the vehicle. And we're just not producing them before. So that's left us in training mode, try to find more vehicles are. Looking at the listing before electric vehicles were listed up there, it's not something we have in our plan per se right now. It's something we can work with the city on to have the infrastructure to charge. We're hoping to team with TDOT during the year for some software and hardware improvements. That's equipment that we use in our hands system. And if there are tools across the state. Any questions on? Thanks, Lauren.
And is that Jasmine? Did I see Jasmine Twin? Do you have anything for net trans? And Melanie moved from Bristol, Virginia to Mountain Links Transit. So you have other people with you or? Okay. And I don't know, are y'all with transit or who are you with?
No.
Mountain Empire? Okay. Y'all have any updates?
Yeah, Will definitely has
Okay.
updates. I want
Yeah.
him to come up
I
there.
usually have Mitch, so I'm not used to other people.
Be a short. It's not here. You know, it's. Here's the new thing. We are also in the. They're not produced. We're actually looking at possibly going to the meeting, but it's not. Part of the guys, but to get some type of vehicle for a service, which is actually going to be great for us. And that's what we're ready to talk about. Last time we were here, we were talking about our MTPO project. What that is was, see, we're on demand service, so we have that 24-hour notice. It's really hard to get your work and get things. Or if you need to go to the doctor, you can talk in, so on, groceries and things like that. So DRPP actually gave us a grant to do what's called MTPO. It's like an Uber type service. It's on demand. You can build your trip. You can actually set your profile, build your trip on the app, and have somebody there for 15 minutes. Our wait times average 10, 15 minutes at the moment. They told us if we get 25 rides a day, it would be considered successful. We just now reached 300 rides a day. So we've proven that, way more proven that it's proved that it is such a need in our area. So in the vans are going to actually asset for us instead of riding buses, pay on gas, wear and tear vehicles. So speaking of the 300 rides, we actually broke a record last year in ridership. In 2019, we did 20,000 more people riders than we did in 2019 with our record. Those students that go. We actually just received 2 awards from US Aging. We won at the state level for MTPO for innovation in Nashville. We just received it this week. We won nationally for just a national achievement award for US Aging MTPO alone. So that is 2 great accomplishments. So in saying that, we do have great news, and I know you're going to like to see. We're actually going to try to expand in Big Stone Gap because it works in the zone. If you're not familiar with it, right now we're just serving the city of Norton and the town of Wise. We have a record training for those other counties. But this zone will actually be in Big Stone Gap, Appalachia, with the connector to the industrial park. So we need to get people to work. One of the things that we receive a lot is, I don't have transportation. I know VSP, I know the mattress factory, all those places down in the industrial park are needing workers. This is going to be the access to get them there. It's great. It's free. Right now, we actually applied for a grant. We have 3 more years of free ridership, so it doesn't cost you anything, even though times are hard. So this is even more plus. So we have some great things happening. We're trying to get people to work down in that as much as we can. So I think it's going to be it's great for our area. And so you might have any questions on it, but like I said, it's not going to be long. It's not here. We're excited.
And I've mentioned MetGo several times, but I was ecstatic to hear the news and want to make sure you're able to tell everybody. So I greatly appreciate you. Thank you. Absolutely. Always.
And before we get into project updates, anybody that hasn't signed in, make sure you sign in. Then I guess we'll go into project updates. Michael, are you giving project updates for TDOT or?
Sure. Yeah.
You want to come up to the table and get the microphone?
I don't think that
I don't
one's
think that
turned
one's
on.
on.
Yeah, that was turned on. It's there. You just push the button.
And so we can, I guess I'll go into the ones that I know more about, and we'll finish with the ones that I don't have as much information on here. So the 126 and the 93 improvements, both of the 03 sections that are listed on here. So PDOT released 3-year plan. Both of those projects were on there. They're both ready to go for construction. The 93 is currently set for 2024, and the 126 is currently set for 2025. The 02 section of 93, which is currently under construction, I drove through that today. They've got a ditch to cut in and some the final surface to go on, some striping. So we're actually hoping that one could be finished by the end of the month. So that one right there at the Washington Sullivan County line, coming to completion pretty quickly. Resurfacing. So I just talked to our resurfacing coordinator. It looks like from a funding aspect and our project list looks like just from the resurfacing part, looks like that's going to be approved. That still has to go out to other TDOT divisions to look for other projects that might be adjoining it and from environmental aspects. But it looks like our resurfacing list is a good. State Route 36, so y'all got that one on there. So that section, which is from I think Lakeside up to Somerville. So we currently have that in the 2025 list, and we're coupling it with the sidewalk project.
Oh, that's the resurfacing on that one. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but we do have the other section of 36 on there for 2024, which is from Somerville up to Eastman Road. So that's scheduled for 24, the other section for 25. A lot of these other projects, they weren't on the 3-year plan. Looking just quick glance on PPRM. Most of them are in still NEPA funding phase. So I think the Fort Robinson, it's got design funding on it, but it's not been funded for right away yet. So where they tentatively got it right now, I believe was late 2024 on Fort Robinson. And I know you were talking about the other bridge on 11W. I know it's not on the list, Mike, but that one looked like late 2025.
Okay.
Rock Springs Road, did you have anything on it?
Let's see. Not funded for design yet. So it's got the NEPA funding. They've done the initial studies, but
It's not funded for right of way, correct?
correct.
Not
You
even,
said, so there's,
it's not even funded for design.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's only
Out of
been
order.
NEPA funded. Yeah. Of course, I'm not the keeper of PPRM. Sometimes they get behind. That's my cursory glance at it. Same with the ITS project on 81, same boat. I think it was NEPA, but no design funding. I know we've had a couple meetings on pretty much every other project on here, but they're in various phases. Fort Robinson seems to be the furthest along, but it's not been funded for right of way. And I know there is going to be right of way for haul roads to get down there and actually construct that project. So they're going to have to get the right of way funding so we can move forward with that one. Any other questions?
That's the only poor bridge that's off-system City of Kingsport Bridge, so. I just worry about that one continuing to be delayed.
Understand. Gotcha.
As far as the city side projects, if y'all don't have any other questions on TDOT projects, the West End Greenbelt still in design. There was some issues working through the developer finishing their road project so that we can do a good survey to actually design off of. The Brickyard Bike and Ped Bridge, we've reached the end of our negotiations with CSX, and the answer is, if you're building a ped bridge, the vehicular crossing has to go away. That's where we're going now. We're taking another look at it to make sure that we can't move the location to allow for a ramp instead of having to put in the elevator on the north side of the railroad tracks, but more than likely, there's not an option to do that, but we're doing that before we finalize our NEPA document. Main streets under construction, and as y'all know, working downtown, there's no problems. There's no unfound stuff underground, and all is pretty and peachy. But yeah, it's on track for its 2-year construction time frame. Island Road still in the design phase, trying to decide what to do with that one. And let's see, resurfacing grouping number 1 is in right away. We're very close to construction. Notice to proceed. We're hoping on that one, and then we're waiting to start the group 2. That one. And is there any others?
On the bed bridge.
Mhm.
Is the railroad participating in all or doing anything if we close that?
So with the closure, there is an opportunity that there's a program for closing at grade crossings that supposedly CSX and TDOT would each bring $75,000 to the table through that program. It's a little consolation, and in the whole, it's not much money when we're talking about a $4 million bridge or whatever it ends up being in this construction environment. That's what we was talking about before COVID. So that may be double now, to be honest, but yeah, there's a little bit of money there that we've got to figure out if it's worth the paperwork and whatever. We haven't dug in yet to what all the hooks are with that money. Other than that, did you want to talk a little bit about the public hearing we had?
We've had those listed at the bottom.
Yep.
So, we're working on the urban transportation planning grant, State Route 93, State Route 1 interchange area study. So on Stone Drive, it's going from Brookside to the Target Shopping Center, and on John B. Dennis, it's going from Memorial to Bloomingdale Road intersection. And so we had the online survey, had over 500 responses, had like 505 responses. So I was very pleased with that. And out of that, there's like 194 that actually left their email addresses for updates on the project. So I've created a constant contact email list with just those people. So of course, you all probably got the notice of the public meeting we had Tuesday. We had 23 here, including us and the consultant, but I mean, there was a lot of good discussion and a lot of good feedback. So they are continuing to develop their recommendations. We'll have another public meeting in a few months where they actually present their final recommendations, and there will be a presentation to the board of mayor and aldermen too at that time. Probably around the end of summer is what we expect.
There's not a way to participate now and give comments, correct?
If anybody's interested in looking at the stuff, they sent us all the boards on email. So I mean, I can send it, and I mean, I would probably try to do that within the next couple of weeks. Probably like maybe by the end of May or first week of June, if you want to look at the stuff and provide any more feedback. Because we met with the HR director yesterday about something else, and she brought up some questions that I don't know that they've looked at, because just the way something striped right there at Beach Nut. And we're like, oh, I didn't realize that was there. And I don't guess the consultants really looked at that specifically, so I thought about sending them that information too.
Any other project updates? All right, hearing none, move on to public comment. Members of the public may address the executive board with issues related to the region's transportation system. There's a 5-minute time limitation per individual per topic. I'd like to open the floor for anybody from the public to discuss. Anybody from the public? All right, hearing none, public comments closed by proclamation. Final agenda item. I believe the next meeting is August 10th at 1.
The second Thursday in August.
Okay.
And it will be back to the afternoon. We just couldn't get this room this afternoon, so that's why we switched with Bristol.
Awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns for the board members, comments?
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment that the First Tennessee RPO meeting, we have a meeting planned for June 1st. That's Thursday at 10 a.m. at the District 17 TDOT office in their training room building that's located at 3213 North Rowan Street. So welcome anyone to attend that is interested. And I've got a few copies of the agenda if anyone would like that today.
What time did you say?
10 a.m.
Thanks, Chase. All right. Adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And a second.
Second. We're all fighting for the second.
I wonder why. I'll give it to my boy over there. Give it to the DOT guys.
That's right.
Motion by Troy, do a second by Blake for adjournment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed, nay. Motion carries. Appreciate y'all. Everyone have a wonderful day.